On October 7th, I began to write a book, which I named War Against the Jews. And it was appropriately titled because although the attack of October 7th, the brutal, barbarous attack, was against Israel, it has led to a worldwide attack against the Jews. This is our Kristallnacht. And it's not only the attack, it's right after the attack, before Israel fired a single shot. So many groups, from Harvard University to the National Lawyers Guild to labor unions, supported what Hamas had done. They weren't defending Palestinians. They weren't talking about Gaza. Right in the beginning, what they were talking about was supporting Hamas. As one Columbia law professor called it, Hamas's, quote, military attack against the occupation. What this has shown is how deep-seated anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, anti-Israel, how deep those feelings run throughout the world, at the United Nations, and in so many world capitals. This is indeed a war against the Jews. And the bad news is they're winning. Why are they winning? Because if you were a Hamas leader today and you said, let's assess what impact these brutal attacks, these rapes, these beheadings have had, and you were just a cost-benefit analyst, you would have to say, it worked. It worked. We killed 1,400 Jews. We raped women. We murdered, beheaded babies. And look, it's benefited us. It's turned Harvard students, it's turned unions, it's turned the National Lawyers Guild, it's turned the United Nations in favor of us. We are winning. That's the message. Murder Jews and you will win. The only way to reverse that message is to make it clear that if you engage in this kind of barbarism, you will lose. But that's exactly the opposite of the message that's being sent today. So we have a real challenge. This is not only a war against Israel. It is not only a war against the Jews. It is a war against humanity. It's a war that pits good versus evil. I was born in 1938. I remember the very end of the Second World War, the dancing in the street on VJ Day and VE Day. I never thought I'd see another situation where good and evil were pitted against each other so clearly as they were in the Second World War. The tragedy is these events have shown that we live in a world today where good is pitted against evil. There is no context for the murder of so many Jews. There is no putting it in kind of an understandable framework. They tried to do that in Nazi Germany too. Remember that Harvard students in the Harvard administration supported Adolf Hitler in the 1930s. Harvard sent a delegation to Heidelberg University to celebrate it shortly after it fired all of its Jewish professors. Yale students supported Nazism. We're seeing a return of those bad old days. We have said over and over again, never again, but we've seen it again and again and again. And we have to fight back with every weapon at our disposal, our intelligence, our financial resources, you name it. We cannot any longer support groups that turn against us. They are our enemies. They are the enemies of freedom, the enemies of humanity, and the enemies of the Jewish people. So let's gather together. Let's use every recourse, legal, economic, everything we have to fight against this evil. We are on the right side of history. They are on the wrong side of history. May you go from strength to strength.